Man, I feel much better.
I know.
A little bit of cold plunging. It's like the best thing. I think one of the best thing I've discovered for like my mental health, physical health. It's better than coffee, and coffee is pretty great.
Coffee's amazing.
Yeah.
I do think the cold exposure is the best pre-workout, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect prime, and this is my second for the day. But I have a lot of customers who are doing 2-a-days. So they'll do a cold plunge into a workout, go to work, and then in the afternoon, another cold plunge, and then exercise again.
Whoa.
They're maniacs, but it definitely is a primer for like the perfect workout, in my opinion at least.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are feeling and thinking the same way.
Yeah, I do one every morning. So the first thing I do, actually now, I change my regimens, but the first thing I do is cold shower. So I step outside, I cold shower, and then I wait a little bit, I make a coffee, and then I attempt the 37 Fahrenheit. I used to do it right away, but lately I'm waiting a little bit. And then I do it again at night, and I do sauna cold plunge.
The full contrast at night.
The full contrast at night, normally, yeah.
How many rounds?
Probably at least 2 rounds. If I have more time, more. But it already takes like an hour. So because I do like 20 minutes at 240. Then I do 3 minutes cold plunge. Then I do another 15 minutes. And then I end it normally with like a minute. So I'm not like shivering in bed. Yeah.
And then you go straight to sleep? Or you try to go straight to bed? Or how...
Yeah.
How much time between the contrast ending
I
and then
straight to bed.
Wow.
Yeah, I brush my teeth like before I start the whole regimen. I go back and forth, and then I lay down and I'm out.
Yeah, like some people, the cold helps them sleep. For some people, it's a upper, and so they have a hard time. I do think the contrast, most people can, fall asleep if it's not, too much of the cold versus the warmth. I personally like the sauna at the end of every day, and then having like once per week the longer contrast where you're doing like 3 rounds.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's pretty time consuming.
Yeah.
But
I do it like instead of TV. I stopped watching TV now. Once in a while.
TV, right?
Oh yeah. And it's just like also for me and my wife, you like sit in front of each other and you have time to talk. There's no phones, and you just sit there and sweat. So it's like kind of amazing to like get to let the day pass and like speak how you feel and like kind of like connect because you're with the kids all day. So for me, it's like a really therapeutic and really different than like sitting in front of a television and watching into a screen, because that's not really like with each other, kind of, because you're just both watching into the screen. It's very different than like just sitting in a sauna. So it's been huge also for like the whole marriage thing, I feel like.
I could see it like saving marriages or being something that is active.
Yeah.
Like you're active with your partner versus TV, which is passive and almost like causes more separation in the relationship.
Yeah. And like I get up and I'm like sore and tight and I'm like, fuck, man. Every time I watch TV, I'm like, I should have not. It's never worth it. And I always, and we both like, it's so healthy. It makes you feel so good. The cold, hot, and we sleep like a baby because the sauna kind of exhausts you. I see how the cold plunge can hype you up, but if you do like 240 for 15 minutes twice, your body like craves the sleep.
100%.
Yeah. So for me that works because like you said, like I wouldn't just cold plunge at night. I've done that before, and that really fucks you up, your whole cycle, because now your body is amped up. If you just do the 3 minutes and then you want to sleep, I don't think that will work for me.
Right.
I only do it with the hot cold, and then in the morning I use it as a pre-workout for sure, and also I don't know, my muscles feel really different if I know exactly if I've done the cold plunge before a workout or if I have not. Not only energy wise, but also just the the tendons and the bones and everything feels a little different. My whole muscle system and nervous system feels completely different when I come from the cold plunge. It feels like ready to take action, and it's very activated. It's almost like activates your whole system and your whole nervous system to have impact, rather than when I just wake up and go to the gym and try and warm up, and it takes me a way longer than with the cold plunge. It like really activates your body.
What was your routine prior to cold plunging and then working out? And then when did you start with cold exposure?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I would always fast. I would always go to the gym fasted. So skip breakfast, have some sort of like pre-workout or caffeine, and then go to the gym. But no cold shower, no cold exposure before that. Yeah.
Like a simple workout, warm up, or like a stretching routine, or jogging, or not even? Do you go straight into your weightlifting after the coffee?
I would, well, the younger and unexperienced I am, I guess the less warming up. But, you know, in CrossFit, you always do some sort of, like you do some cycles, like some assault bike or something to warm up your body.
Yeah, for sure, instead of just going straight in.
Yeah. But I never had cold exposure. And then obviously listening to Joe Rogan, he doesn't shut up about it. So I remember in the spa really looking at it and because like that's like the only way I think you can have some sort of your first time seeing a cold plunge is in a spa normally. And I used to do it just hot and cold, and that would be the only way. It's an easy entry. I feel like when you're like coming out of the sauna, you're so hot. It's kind of nice to go in the cold plunge. Very different.
You're open to the idea, right?
Yeah, you're open to the idea. Very different than being not sweating and exposing yourself in cold water and then not even going into the hot after that.
First timers are like, wait, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And you feel like, I don't know, you freak out because you feel like you might never get warm again.
Definitely.
You have that thing in your head where you're questioning if you'll ever warm up again, ever. And even when you come out, I remember you feel like you can't get warm, and it freaks you out a little bit.
Yeah, to that point, I remember the first couple of times it would take like half the day to warm up.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't have that cold
and you
tolerance.
Shiver. I used to not even be able to podcast after cold plunging because I would always sit there and talk like that. It would fuck me up too much. Where you really have to, like, if you go into the science, I guess there is really such a thing as like brown fat, where you can really tell that your body just adapts much quicker and much easier. Same with the sauna. I sweat like this now.
Right.
Where when my wife started, I would be drenched and she would not sweat a tiny bit. And it takes the body so much longer to adapt to heat or cold. Because now my body is like knows exactly what to do instantly when you like step into the sauna.
Right.
Or in a workout. It instantly starts sweating to like cool down the body. So it's amazing. The body is amazing. And yeah, my gym did actually an event with cold plunging, and I signed up immediately. And that was the first time where I only did a cold plunge with no hot exposure. So just cold.
When was this?
Must have been like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Here or Texas?
In LA.
In LA.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
And they just had like buckets with ice. They just poured ice in it, and I instantly got hooked on that. I was like, wow, this is sick.
You felt something. You felt like a reset that you weren't getting from like other places.
I don't know. I always feel like there's just so much inflammation, not only with working out, but especially like brain inflammation. There's the whole environment that we're in, I feel like is a huge inflammation of the brain. You know, the phones, the blue light, the screens. And when I go into the cold plunge, I get rid of that instantly. And there's a lot of people that say like, oh, it's great for mental health and depression and and your muscles and stuff. But for me, it's really taking inflammation from the brain. which not a lot of people talk about, but which is like huge. I feel like the best benefit is that your brain is not inflamed anymore. And once your brain is not inflamed anymore, you can really have very rational thinking, and you can be stoic as a man, and I can be a good husband. Because before, I think like emails, and my wife is nagging me, and my kids are always crying, and I'm so freaking irritated. As soon as I go in and I dump my head, I feel relieved, and I feel calm, very calm.
Yeah, it's like what used to bother you or trigger you is no longer as strong of a signal after the cold plunge. The cold plunge turns up all your alarms and gets you in a state where adrenaline, dopamine's up, and then afterward, life becomes more manageable. It's like you do something to the way extreme, and then your son's nagging at you, or your wife nagging at you, or emails. The alarm it's like dimmed down. I've definitely,
and it goes into sort of like perspective. You know how when you're angry, your reality gets very distorted, and I feel like sometimes you have a little bit of reality distortion, and the cold plunge can really dial you in, because your body thought for a second it's gonna die. So when you get instant gratitude and instant humiliation, where you're humbling your system and yourself, kind of.
right.
And you're like happy. It's like taking, I guess, mushrooms, because you're like instantly you feel you're happy to be alive. You're happy for what you have in your life, and you're not. You get like into the presence, like pushed instantly with this immense pain. That is just so satisfying, because you choose to step into it. It doesn't happen to you. It happens like through your choice.
Right. It's about choice. Right.
It's like getting a tattoo or going on a hike or sprinting. You choose to fire up your system and to take this pain for 3 minutes of your day, kind of.
Right.
And I think I always see those stupid clips where they're like, they say it ages you.
Yeah.
And that Hoffman looks old, but I mean, he is really old. And all this dumb shit. But then
Wim Hof, they're making fun
Wim
of.
Hof, yeah.
Okay.
Because they say that it's really bad for you to have like a near-death experience every day. But then I feel like if you go, it's a very, if you say that as a man, you're very a bitch of a man. If you never want to experience any intensity, and you will always lay on the couch then and never expose you, because you could say the same thing when you bench 300 pounds. You just also were going to die if you don't push it up, right? Because it's going to land on your chest and you're going to die miserably. So it's the same concept, that if you don't put yourself under extreme, like when you snatch and clean, it's right over your spine and it will crush you to your death. So I constantly put myself in these positions, because it's very beneficial, instead of this idea that to constantly comfort yourself. Yeah, I hate this idea. The same with like energy. People used to tell me that like they want to preserve energy and not exhaust themselves. But I feel like the more you work out, the more you put yourself in these like extreme situations, the more resilient and stronger you get. And I always feel more energy after working out, because when you don't work out for a whole day and it's exhausting to do nothing.
Right.
For me.
The used key is always bright. Sloth, like rust, consumes faster than labor wears. There is something about doing nothing.
That's exhausting.
That's exhausting and rusts you, makes your bones ache. To your point, I had so much back pain for so long. I didn't realize that strengthening the back and doing back exercises is how you get rid of back pain. It's not enough just to stretch and not do movements. You have to do the movements, and you have to work out to get the stronger. So I know what you're saying. Like there's something about...
Same with your heart. The more you sprint and the more your heart beats really fast, like in a sauna, the stronger your heart muscle is going to get. And if you never get your heartbeat up, your heart is a muscle too. same as with your lungs and with everything. So it needs to be trained to get stronger. Otherwise, it's just gonna disintegrate really slowly.
Yeah, and we can say that that's been happening to the population at large, it seems like, where we have so much luxuries and comfort, we kind of forgot some of the basics. I'm curious about your fasting, because I've seen fasting now also get put into, oh, fasting is terrible for you, don't do intermittent fasting. Same thing with like the cold plunge scares. Hey, it's going to age you, whatever it is. I come from the camp of I like to stack the hormetic stress. Like I want to almost be fasting, cold plunging, working out, and then feeding myself very well, like high nutrition foods. What are your views on fasting? Because you said that you do fast.
I think I really I attempted in Texas like a 72-hour fast, but with the family, it was, my kids, like they would ask me like why I'm not eating. And they would get upset because, and also that my son doesn't really eat if I don't eat with him. There's some sort of camaraderie with eating with your family.
For sure.
And I feel like it's really great if you don't have a family. I think it's doable. And I like a challenge, but for me, it hasn't. I don't like to have something in my stomach when I go work out, and since I always work out, I have to eat like a couple hours before or after, and so I guess it's some sort of intermittent fasting when you skip breakfast, but
Right.
I haven't done like those crazy 3-day fasts.
I haven't done those either.
Yeah.
I definitely like to work out like you without food in my stomach.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call it a fast, to be honest. It's really, I would consider fasting really if you do it like for a whole day. If you just skip one meal, I think that's just how it used to always be as a human. You don't always have a fridge and always have food, so I don't think that's really fasting. Yeah.
We've taken this concept of like what real fasting is and just skipping a meal or doing. So for you, 16 hours a fasting window is not
fasting.
Is not true.
No.
Is not true fasting.
Constantly snacking is like sickening, and like that is the weird part. You're not fasting if you skip one meal, I feel like, because you shouldn't be constantly snacking.
Right.
Yeah.
I like how you flipped it on its head.
Yeah. Just like how cold exposure, I feel like as a human, we always exposed ourselves to some sort of danger, and you always had to be ready that a bear is going to eat you, or you have to run from another tribe or some shit. I mean, I'm sure there was always some stuff going on where you have to sprint or be active or exercise, and you have to like get food all the time and hunt an animal. So I don't feel like cold exposure is like too much for your system, where you're gonna age like crazy because you go 3 minutes in a cold river. How is that possible? I don't see that. How that is like, obviously your organs think they're trying to get you out of there, where you're like your system kind of freaks out, but. I don't see how that is a bad thing. I feel like it's much weirder to constantly be it's so unlikely that you always had enough food and you were never in danger as a human for the last like thousands of years. That is very unlikely that there's not somebody who is out there to hurt you or take your wife or your belongings. So I feel like it's much more of we live in such a comfortable society that you need a little bit of danger, you need a little bit of pain, deliberate pain to your system, because otherwise you're just gonna disintegrate as a man and as a society.
Yeah, you numb out, your whole perceptual system is thrown off. That's why people, I think, are so mental. Like they're not in their bodies. They're not feeling all of life's, all of what life's pressure has to offer. And to your point, I think it was Dr. Andy Galpin, he was saying, like, if you take blood work from someone mid-workout, it looks like they're dying.
Oh, yeah.
So the body needs to go through these crazy stresses in order to rebalance and grow back stronger. So there's probably a lot of biology that we just don't understand that comes from that stress response and that regrowth. And if you're never putting yourself through that, there is no regrowth. It's like stagnation, or your body just gets really frail and brittle.
And there's also this quote that a man never finds his true potential without pressure. That's why it's so great to become like a father, or to have immense pain or struggle as a man, because then you really will develop, and you will really show what you're capable of, rather than if you get everything given to you, then you'll never really explore as a man what you're capable of. And it's very satisfying to explore like how strong you are, how fast you are, how much pain you can take, how much money you can make, how good you can raise your children, or how good you can be to society, or what kind of impact you can have on other people. It's very sad on how you can just be focused on your own, like your mental health and your problems constantly, rather than like how much change you can bring.
And maybe this is tied to like not challenging yourself physically. When men don't do that, they become like mental cases. Yeah. You get too stuck in your own intellect or your own ego. You're not engaged with life directly if you're not physically stressing yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And not only that, you also become like very accepting of being weak and being a coward and things being too hard for yourself, and you victimize yourself constantly, and you identify, because you've never been challenged and you never got over this, like as simple as staying in cold water. Once you know you can do it, now you can attack other things that also you might have. Like every time you get in a situation where you think like you're freaking out, you can't do it, you now know there's something inside of you that you actually can do it, and that transfers to everything in life, kind of.
Yeah, like you can hold on to that pain and that discomfort for longer. You're like, yeah, I've been through worse.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I just experienced death, a couple hours ago in the cold. I think I'll be okay.
Exactly.
I'll survive this. I want to go back to that. You said like the gratitude bursting. Mm-hmm. I've wanted to articulate that too so much, where I think the cold biologically primes your body to be bursting with gratefulness. And I actually think it aligns your body for not law of attraction woo-woo, but you can clear your mind and get really focused on what you want, and visualize, what you want, and be grateful for what you have, and embody whatever future that you want to go to without your ego chattering in the background, or the nervousness of the day, or self-doubt. Like it's a great way to prime yourself to almost reprogram your entire being, how you view yourself, what goals you're trying to achieve, because you're in like a grateful, engaged, present state. It's almost perfect for creating the new life you want, or the new project, or whatever is on your agenda that's scaring you.
Yeah, 100%. I even have like visions sometimes where I feel, you feel like you can really touch your goal. You can really see it clearly in that moment. A lot of times when I'm in the cold plunge, and I especially do the hot cold, I feel like, oh my God, like I was in there the other day and I'm like, oh my God, I need to talk to more people. This is what I'm meant to do. This information sharing is so tremendous. It's so much better than a brand deal or followers online. Like once you can connect to somebody else and you can talk to so many interesting people, it's the best thing. Like and I have a lot of times these like insights that you normally are always fogged up. You can never see what's important, because I always wake up ungrateful. I always wake up as a little bitch that hates everything. I'm like, I'm not important. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough followers. I'm not making enough money. I lose my muscles. Like I'm not strong enough. I just feel like a failure all the time, every day. But the cold plunge gets rid of that all the time, every day. It works every time. It's so simple.
Right.
And working out, there's just good workouts and bad workouts. It's not always the same. You're not always in the right state. It's not always the right WOD. It doesn't like, and you might take a step back when you shouldn't, and you know you're a bitch for it, and nobody else knows, and you might have the best score in the gym, but you know you could have done better a lot of times. Most times, even. It's very rare where I know I gave it my best. I know I gave it all. Like, I gave it my full potential. It's very rare. Different than the cold plunge, where I always step out full of gratitude. It really aligns you in the shortest period of time ever. It is the most powerful thing, and it sucks every time. It is just that good. That like when there are workouts that are comforting, where you just do what you kind of feel like, it's your movements. It doesn't really get you out of your comfort zone. You're just doing your thing, kind of. And a cold plunge is not your thing. It's nobody's thing to immerse yourself in ice cold freezing water. That's just not a thing. You can tell yourself that, and you might have become that person over time, that you look like that motherfucker that just loves it. But there is always some sort of hesitation where your body craves comfort.
100%.
You know, but you can train yourself to look like that guy that loves it, and eventually people will take you as that guy. A lot of people think I love cold water. When I'm at 6 a.m. in front of it, I hate that thing. I hate the blue cube. I look at it and. But I also know that not going in it is even worse. So I kind of I'm like, if I don't do it, I feel shit all day. So I might as well take the pain for 3 minutes.
That's like the self-talk.
That's the self-talk I do.
To get you in.
Because I've done it, I've not done it. And that is insane.
Like you go to do it and then you talk yourself out of it.
No. I pretend that I'm busy or I have to do something else. And I'm like, oh, I got to take my kid to school now. So, it's... But like, do you really not have 3 minutes? Who doesn't have 3 minutes, you know? There's nobody who doesn't have 3 minutes. So it's really hard to skip it. But sometimes I pretend and I just get in the car and do other things. And before you know it, it's like 5 o'clock and I didn't do it. And that really makes me feel like so bad.
The self-referencing guilt.
Yeah.
I have a hack.
Sometimes I punish myself, and then I gotta go double the time or do some sort of punishment.
Make up for it.
Make up for it. Yeah.
I found for myself, and this is going to tie into what you said about working out. The subconscious mind, your subconscious is always taking in how you're framing, let's say, an activity. So I found that if I wake up and I tell myself, like, crap, I got to do 3 minutes today in this 37. Crap. The subconscious gets scared and you'll find yourself procrastinating or coming up with every excuse not to get in. So I instead flip it where it's like I wake up and I tell myself, you know what? Even if I go in for 1 second today, I just go in and go out, I'll give myself a check mark, and to me, that'll be a success today. So I lower the bar of what success looks like for the day of just doing the rep.
Okay.
And then every time I find that I'm in, I can push once I'm in. But getting in is like a mental game for a lot of people. Even at our company, I study our employees.
Oh, yeah.
They'll go in, they'll say they love it, and then like the rest of the week, they're not going in, you know? And I'm like, hey, man, like what's going on? They're like, hey, I'm just scared, like, and the way people frame the whole cold plunge, I think saying to yourself, hey, I got to stay in here 3 minutes, or wow, I don't feel like staying in that long. If you flip it and just give yourself credit for just doing it, you can get into a routine or a rhythm where you find yourself just doing that habit almost automatically. And it's the same thing with working out. Like, I know you have huge standards, and it's good to be like, hey, did I push myself all the way today? Wait, okay, I did this. Maybe I can push harder. I think for a lot of people starting out, just getting into the rhythm of working out and focusing on consistency first can be strategic. And then once you've been going for, weeks, months, then playing with the intensity or getting hard on yourself for the technique or not exerting yourself enough becomes the next strategic leverage. But I think too many people who are not in that rhythm, they're too hard on themselves when they need to focus more on like, hey, you know what? If I just go in for 10 seconds today, that's a victory. And then you can start compounding those wins and gaining confidence. But I found, like how you reference.
But have you done the dip, only the dip before?
I usually stay longer than 10 seconds. Like I'll end up staying a full minute. But for the days where like I just don't feel like doing it, that's when I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in and out.
Yeah.
And then I end up going in and able to push it, right?
Yeah. Because the getting in is once I'm in, I don't really care.
Right.
Yeah. I could stay. I've done like 7-10 minutes before, but it gets to a point where my body just takes too long to warm up and it gets annoying kind of.
100%.
Yeah. Where you have to like dress a lot or you have to warm up crazy. So I found that 3 minutes is like the sweet spot where it has the full effect, but I can warm up and get going pretty good.
Right, and you're not damaging yourself. Like you're taking the full advantage of the benefits without any of the costs of needing to warm up or not being fully ready for the day because you're too busy trying to warm up. 100%.
And you still, like, I've gone in where it doesn't feel good anymore.
Right. That's.
I've been like in the sauna.
Like Thomas,
I've been in the sauna and I've been like, yo, what the fuck? Like, I feel
2:30, 40 minutes or what? How long?
No, not that long. Probably like 7-ish at 37. But
oh no, you're talking about the blue cube. 7 minutes, 30. Yeah, 100%.
After I've done like 3 minutes, 3 minutes again, waited, and then you come out and you feel weird. Yeah.
100%.
With 3 minutes, I feel like a god.
Right. And it's perfect. And your body is, you probably have some crazy experiences. Hopefully she doesn't get mad at me, but I'll share a story about Rebecca Rouse. I don't know if you've seen her posts about us.
Of course.
Olympic bodybuilder. When she first got her blue cube, she started plunging and she called me one day and she's like, David, like, it's taking me all day to warm up. Like, is this normal? What's going on? What do I do?
Yeah.
And definitely it's easy to overdo your cold routine. And there is diminishing returns, just like working out or just like fasting or the sauna. And there definitely is the need to self-titrate. So there's nothing wrong with like, let's say you overdid a cold plunge. Okay, like go into a warm shower, help your body to warm up if you find yourself overdoing it. Because a lot of people, when they get in the plunge, they think like, oh, I can take this. I can push it. But it's when you leave the cold plunge, that's when you really understand the damage, the good stress that you did to yourself, or if you overdid it. Yeah. So a lot of people need that like that period of time where you understand your body. Like, okay, what can it take? I think I could take 4 minutes, but when I leave the cold plunge, it's taking me, half the day to warm up. Okay, let me cut the time in half. Let me raise the temp.
And you'll get better. I feel like, maybe not be so hard on yourself because eventually you can take a lot of time and you jump back quick. You have an instant response. And it gets exciting then when you can take such cold temperatures and your body can take it so well.
Yes.
And it's very rewarding. But I've also definitely caught myself where it's taking me all day. So it's funny that you bring up that story.
Yeah, no, she was freaking out.
Because as an athlete, you want to push those boundaries constantly, always. It's always about how much weight can I take without injuring myself, kind of,
Right.
Because you never not want to challenge yourself. So you constantly play with this, how much can I take, And I'm always so sad when I find those boundaries. You know, I'm like, wow, I can't even be in the cold plunge for that long. Like, you know, that like when I did jiu-jitsu and I used to cold plunge before and after and then do CrossFit after that. So I would cold plunge, go an hour jiu-jitsu, cold plunge again, and then do CrossFit. And eventually my body was just like not having it because it would be so intense.
That is intense for sure.
And over the months, I would just be exhausted.
And you were doing this every day, or was it like
Every day, plus having my wife was pregnant and my toddler was not in school. So, and I would still be up at night, but then still have to get up at like 5 to get this whole thing started. And it would just be too much. And it's always kind of sad because you always feel like if I would just control my mind more, I feel like sometimes like maybe I can just do it. But then you have to listen to your body as well, because otherwise it will punish you back so hard that you will have to completely stop. So it's fun because the ice is it's a very interesting thing, very different to I really not hate, but it's very disappointing by the air, cold air.
Sure. The cryotherapy.
Cryo,
Yeah.
because when I did it, I was just so disappointed. It's very disappointing.
In terms of like
How difficult it is. It is very easy to stand. I was just standing there waiting for something to happen, and it was cold air, and it's very. You stand there in cold air. It is very different than immersing yourself in ice cold water. I think Huberman said that you lose it like 6 times faster or 10 times faster. Your body temperature loses
from
the cold water instead of air.
The conductivity of the water, the heat loss.
The heat loss
is like dramatic.
Dramatic. And even if the air is so freaking cold, I was very disappointed when I did the cryo.
Like you felt it superficially, like it wasn't nervous system reset, hormone
nothing.
reset. It's more like just on the skin or muscles, or I've never done cryo.
I guess for the muscles, I guess it's a nice effect for sure, muscly wise. But there's so much more than I do the cold plunge for than my muscles, you know.
Right.
And I don't know. There's nothing like putting your brain in cold water. It's so satisfying. Yeah, that putting the head in is like my favorite thing.
The full dunk.
Yeah, or just the head. The brain needs to go in for me. It really. I do it like I used to do it like on the minute. Every minute of the 3 minutes, I would put the head down and wait 10 seconds and count it. Yeah,
love it.
Because
you sound like Thomas.
Yeah, there's something about putting the brain. That's why I'm so sad because my wife never puts her head in because of her hair. It's so sad because that's the best part. It's
I think
so satisfying.
You need to cry for me too. I would be dunking a lot more. It's my ears that I have like pool ear, like even a drop of water in my. I need to put like plugs, or put something around my ears. Because I agree, when you put the head in,
there's just something
your body turns on all the alarms,
and nothing else bothers you anymore.
Right.
Before, I feel like my ankles and my fingers hurt, but when you rush your head in, everything else stops. I've also done like just when I used to have wrist pain and I would just put my wrist in, and that's like, if you just have one body part, your whole brain goes to that one part and it hurts so much. It completely focuses everything on my hand, and it would hurt me more putting my hand in than my full body because it's just overwhelming and my body is just kind of gives up. At that point, it's just surviving when I put my whole body in.
Right.
Rather than when you put like a toe or a hand, it fucking hurts. Like it really starts hurting where you like have to convince yourself that you're not really in pain. It's just signals in your brain. You're like, you can take this, but you have to force yourself to like, have you done just a hand? It fucking sucks.
It's harder, I think.
Yeah, it's
like
so
in the
hard.
37, just keeping
just your hand in.
One hand, yeah.
Fuck, man.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it's something like you said, the whole body's concentrating on warming up this one part of your body. And when you go all the way in, it's like there's so much
relief.
cold. Yeah. It's not as intense of an isolated experience. It's more like your whole being. So I guess the pain is more distributed
Yeah.
through the body. Question for you, because I've heard this from other athletes too, where they're like, look, as far as my mind, I can keep going. Like, as far as my mind, I have the endurance to go, but I know my body is going to break if I keep going. Where like they have very strong minds. And it seems like you're one of these people who you've trained yourself to be able to command and push your body with your mind. And then there's also the art of knowing like when to stop because you're causing your body damage. It's not that you're mentally weak, it's that you're now like incurring a cost for the pushing. How have you managed both like needing to strive and push and then knowing like, okay, I need to stop now, or now is the time to recover, or hey, maybe I'm damaging myself? What's the balance between the both, or is it like a gray area between growth and diminishing returns?
I would say it's injury. I think when you're a new athlete and you've never injured yourself, you're very naive on how you like what you do with your body and what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And the more of a advanced, older athlete you are, like there's more than I think CrossFit, like maybe like 10 or 15 years I've been doing this one thing. So you know when you're gonna like injure yourself. It becomes very clear to yourself where you know now you gotta back off. I feel like more than before where I just didn't know and I just injure myself.
That makes sense.
Yeah, where now you get such a feel, you get so in touch with your body that you know what to do when you break it down, I guess. When mentally, of course, you want to do much more, and you want to. That's why it's like it makes me really sad a lot of times when I have to back off. But I know if I don't back off, I will really have to stop for much longer. The price will be too high, rather than if I back off a little bit and then I can keep going again as an athlete.
And then do you know the nuance between like you being quote unquote a bitch or wanting to give up because like you're tired or you feel a little,
For sure,
versus like, okay, this is injury.
Yeah, and I think that's so hard to explain to a non-athlete. It's so hard to make him understand real pain and you being a bitch, for sure. Like, this is not real pain. Like, this is just you really being sore and having to push through it, or you're really hurting yourself at this point. Yeah, you get a really good sense of what's harming you and when you're being a bitch, for sure. Yeah, really, and that's where the cold plunge comes in. I think
I was going to tie it back. To the
I would
cold plunge.
I would never be able to train this intense and this much without cold exposure. It is not possible, and I tell that to everyone. I always had things bothering me. Always, my whole sport career, I always had like back pain or wrist pain or knee pain, and I would always have to like stop heavy squatting, stop heavy cleaning. You know, and that completely is gone when you cold exposure every day.
Yeah,
It
like,
really sucks the inflammation and it really protects your body in a weird way where I would not be able to do like Olympic lifting now every day almost 6 times a week. And I couldn't be doing that I would not be able to do that without cold exposure. No way.
you'd be taking more days off or needing to spend more time like in recovery.
Yeah, or even injure myself. I would just injure my wrists and my knees. I don't know why. It would just be too much a lot of times. I would always like it would just ache a little bit and I would know like I cannot like my knees and my wrists because it was always heavy, and with the cold exposure that it becomes just strong. I don't know, or the inflammation is just gone. there's no inflammation, and then you can just do it.
It's like the biggest lever on anti-inflammation for
Yeah.
sure. I also think it causes neurogenesis, so new neuron synaptic connections. I almost think it reframes our sensation of pain in the body, or your neurons and the anti-inflammation reset how your body's interpreting the pain, or the inflammation goes away so that there is no more pain. It's like a combination of both. I've noticed with my dad plunging, his back pain is gone just from plunging. So definitely how the cold reacts with the nervous system and the inflammation. There's a lot there, and the fact that you're able to lift aggressively 6 days a week, thanks to the Blue Cube, it's doing something. It's
No, and if I don't do it instantly, I feel something instantly, right away.
like that. Like, okay, this day I didn't cold plunge, and then you go to lift. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Smoothness or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like a car. It's not oiled up or it's not smooth, and it can be as little as like soreness or tightness. You're just tight and sore, and you're not as like, especially with Olympic lifts, you're just not snappy. It doesn't snap.
The clean or whatever
The
it is.
explosion,
the
the explosiveness.
part.
Yeah, the explosiveness, and I don't know. There's also like, I used to feel like when there's I don't know the science behind it, but your muscles also heat up, and it's a huge problem when they get overheated. And the lactic acid and everything makes you maybe back off or be able to do less reps than when you're so cold.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a huge difference doing a workout in like 100 degrees or in much less degrees. You know, you can push yourself much harder and be able to perform better in colder temperature. Not too cold, but colder than like really hot. And the same with your body. So there's some sort of advantage, especially when you cold plunge before a workout.
Yeah, like in cooling your muscles and priming them for overexertion.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cool down, anti-inflammation, and then you're ready. You're perfect for not overexerting for the sake of it, but you can have like a rock star workout and really push yourself. I definitely experienced that, and I know a lot of people who are saying the same thing, feeling that benefit from the cold, no doubt. Have you noticed sauna giving you any gains for the muscle growth or for metabolism as well? I found that the cold, the metabolic boost, intensifies when you stack the other hormetic stresses. So if someone just cold plunges, I do think through consistency, you are probably having a significant metabolic effect. But if you stack cold plunge, workout, intermittent fasting, which may not exist according to this podcast, and sauna, and you get your eating clean, the cold is like a great magnifier of all of that, because your workout's going to be better. And now the cold naturally takes out the sugar from your bloodstream, and then you're doing a workout too. So then the muscles are also pulling the nutrition from your blood. So you're just stacking so much in your favor, I think, by combining it. Like, can someone gain a lot of benefit just doing cold? Sure, but I think the true power is like incorporating it with the other health protocols. It's like a magnifier of everything else. At least that's been my experience.
100%. No, that's why just the sauna might not do it, for sure. I mean, I've seen a lot of fat people in the sauna, right? And they don't seem... Same with jiu-jitsu. I've seen a lot of fat people doing jiu-jitsu. You got to do more than that. It's not just jiu-jitsu.
We're talking like obese people rolling around on the mat, or...
Well, it just... You have so much benefit when you're big. So there's a lot of... not ripped jiu-jitsu people that like have black belts. And I was very confused when I got into jiu-jitsu, like how you can be so fat and be so good at this. It's very confusing to me because for me, an athlete always has abs. There is no such thing as, I don't know, there's no MMA fighter, or there might be, but most MMA fighters have abs.
Right.
Because that's what they do every day. You don't have time to eat shit. Even if you eat shit all the time, you train most of your life.
You're gonna burn it, right?
Yes. So to have a jiu-jitsu, all these jiu-jitsu guys that don't have abs, it was very confusing to me. I'm like, what's going on here? Until I understood that it's so much technique. There's so much technique to it. It's more chess than exercise. Like they're so smart with how they leverage that being big can be a big advantage kind of to jiu-jitsu. But I don't, I want to look great and feel great. So you can't just sauna or you can't just jiu-jitsu. You also got to do more than that if
Right.
you want to look great. And I guess because it's like if you have an unhealthy life and you do 1 hour of jiu-jitsu, it's not going to make up for it. Because if you do like 6 hours of jiu-jitsu, of course you're going to be ripped. And there are those people for sure.
You're just all day you're on the mat.
Yeah,
rolling
all day you're on the
around.
mat is a different game. But like you said, if you once you start stacking things together, it really amplifies because you're so much better. You're not double as good. You're like 10 times as beneficial to just do cold hot exercise, only eat meat, no sugar. I mean, then the inflammation just rapidly goes down and you become like a superhuman.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you on that point?
That's why the sauna, like what you said, like I love it for the sleep. And then when I get better sleep, I'm much more of a better athlete because sleep is a powerful tool. If you don't sleep, it will kill you. So
Oh yeah, you're a different person.
yeah. So would I say like my testosterone is better through the sauna and I'm so much more ripped? No. I would say for sleep benefits and recovery, it's amazing for sure. But you can't just sauna and call it a day. You still gotta like train your heart and exercise. You can't cheat it like that for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. What's your? Do you drink?
No,
For how long have you not?
I never liked drinking. I don't think I've never liked it ever.
You're lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
even,
I've always been in parties and going out and always felt wrong. Like, what am I doing here? It's like cheating. It always seemed pathetic that you cannot enjoy a thing sober. Like, it has to be good enough that it might be even more fun when you're drunk, but it should also be fun when you're not drunk. So for me, that it's only fun because like sitting in a dark room and like moving yourself to like some EDM is really not fun. Especially when you have family
and you need to sleep. Yeah.
I don't know. And even before family, I always felt like this is pathetic. I never felt like this is amazing. I want to do this again all the time. I don't know.
And that was intuitive to you just growing up. Like even like were these your thoughts in high school?
Yeah.
Fascinating, man.
I never, bro, and I've performed at nightclubs for years. And I like that more, being on stage, getting paid, doing your thing, getting on and off. I always like that more than like this idea of standing in the crowd for hours. Yeah. And I don't know, I was always, yeah, and I hated it, always hated it, always felt like not good. Yeah.
So you were way ahead of your time. I definitely loved drinking beer and not so much the EDM scene, but like going to a restaurant with friends or family and drinking. But my brother, starting this year, he wanted to clean up because him and his wife are getting trying to prepare for a baby.
Yeah.
So I'm really competitive with him with the biohacking. So I was like, okay, you're not drinking. I'm done drinking too. Like, and I'm gonna go longer than you. Like, I'm not gonna drink anymore. And the not drinking part I found to be so good for the momentum you get from working out. To an athlete, this is a no-brainer for you, but I think for the common person, if they're trying to lose weight or gain muscle, equally as important as what you do is trying to understand what you need to eliminate that's stopping those gains from happening. And I feel like alcohol is one of those like huge anti-momentum, let's throw your metabolism into the toilet, let's undo all the work you did in the gym.
Yeah.
And I was on like this hamster wheel of like not getting the results that I wanted. I found that taking out alcohol was a big deal. There are some downsides. Life gets not boring, but you have to learn to entertain yourself more. Like if on a weekly basis you're going to a restaurant to drink and have fun, well, you got to like replace that. But I found that it is so amazing to not drink on your metabolism, on the health, on the gains aspect and the muscle. We have a bodybuilder at Blue Cube, and everyone sees her, working hard at the gym. She's like perfect with her diet. What they don't see is that she hasn't drank anything for like 7 years. So she's been stacking like year after year those gains. And I think athletes like you or bodybuilders, or they kind of come to that conclusion intuitively with their body. And I think a lot of people who are not athletes, who do want to get healthier or do want to finally like have a shredded body or more energy, it helps a lot to reflect on like, what do I need to cut from my life? What is taking my momentum and throwing it off the rails? Anyway, I brought that out because I was curious about your background with alcohol, and when you told me that you intuitively just realized alcohol is a killer to whatever goals that you're pursuing, it seems like it's becoming more mainstream and accepted that like, yeah, you don't need to be drinking, all the time to
and it's
have a life.
Yeah, and it's not fun. It's really not fun. It's just a pretend happiness. It's like I always tell that people that smoke weed. It's great, I guess, if you don't have anything else going on, but you want to have something else going on. And I think as a man, you need to understand as soon as possible that you're not put on this planet to have fun. And to be happy, especially happy. I hate when men want to be happy.
Yeah.
My brother want to be happy. I am telling him to stop
Like
trying.
when they say the goal, like when
Yes,
they're like,
they're
hey,
like, oh my God, how happy are you? You're not part of the crew, and you're not having fun, and you're so serious, and all this shit. Because you need to understand really quick, you have a different purpose. And you need to tap into that, and it will give you so much more. There's nobody wakes up after a day going out and is happy or satisfied and like feels so great about themselves after a night of drinking.
Right.
There is no way. Your body is gonna punish you for toxifying it like that. Your brain is gonna die off. You kill so many brain cells. Your liver, your whole system is fucked, and you'll also surround yourself with people that also have nothing going on for themselves. It's a cheap trick to make the present moment livable, but you should be tapping into what you can be as a man and how much of a service you can be. I feel like the moment I realized that life is gonna be unfair and that my purpose is to suffer as a man, and I accepted it, that moment is when I really became one with myself.
When was this?
It's as cliche as that sounds, but I think as once I started listening to Andrew Tate,
Okay.
he was the first man in my life that told me that life is unfair and it's supposed to be that way. Like, I grew up in a society that tells me that I should have emotions and that we're all the same and that women should go to work and that men have pain, and that their pain is valid, and that you should feel bad, and that you're weak, and that it's okay to be weak. And Andrew Tate says the opposite. And at the moment I realized that my purpose is not to be happy and run around with a smile all day, but to be as useful as I can to my society, to my country, and to my family, and to myself, that moment I realized I need, it doesn't really matter how you feel. And I think the gym comes in tremendously to that. Once you just disregard on how you feel and you focus on how you make other people feel, is when you become one with being a man, for me. And that wasn't that long ago. I always thought life is so unfair, and why do I have to do this thing, and why do I have to suffer, and why do I have to get up early? And you always feel like you got it bad, kind of, as a man. And nobody cares about you. And until I listened to Andrew Tate, and I was like, and he tells me, this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to suffer. You need to take this pain for your family and for your wife, and they're not supposed to suffer. The children and the women, they shouldn't go through that. Their purpose is to smile and be happy, not you.
I agree with everything you're saying. I don't know when it became controversial to tell men stuff like this. I remember being told by my dad and my grandfather, like, "Hey, boys, don't cry. Hey, you felt like, don't cry." And I'm actually happy that I was raised, with that mentality of like, "Hey, with men, no one's gonna come and coddle you. It's a bad look." And then to your point, I do think men's purpose is to help the family through the most painful experiences, like being able to laugh off family death. I don't know if you've experienced it. Everyone ends up experiencing it, but the loss of like a grandparent or an aunt or uncle or someone in the family, and the woman and children are completely lost and desperate. Who's going to be in the family who can laugh at the beautiful moments with that person and say, "Hey, there's a new day. Even in death, we can march on and we can still prosper. The sun's going to rise again next morning. Let's be grateful. Let's turn this sorrow and celebrate, the person's life." I think that's on the men. And then to your point, I think women are kind of built with everything kind of given to them as far as intuition, as far as like being more savvy with people, as far as their reproductive menstrual cycle and the pains that they go through. And then men have to be forged. Nothing is given to you as a man. Even trust fund babies, you don't have the same skills as your father. You weren't in the same negotiations. You didn't build, as a man, you have to build everything yourself if you want it. Nothing is given to you. And so if you don't know how to suffer, then what are you going to get? Because everything's on the other side of suffering. And then to your point, no one likes to hear men complain. That's another thing, too, that has become controversial, that you can't say that. And I think as a man, one's power comes from learning to not complain, and better yet, learning not to vocalize any of your suffering or your pains to people who cannot help you on the journey. So like if you're experiencing, as a man, business issues, why go to your spouse? If she's part of the business, that's one thing. But why go and unload frustrations on a spouse or a parent or a sibling where they don't have the resources, or they don't have the experience to give you actual solutions to challenging the problem? Don't vocalize any of your problems with those people. I feel like as a man, I started getting in touch with my power by learning to not take the problems that I perceive in the moment as serious as I'm perceiving them. to get more in touch with like my connection with God or the Tao and life. And like, I now go to that with my problems, or I try to listen to myself more. And then knowing who I go to chat to solve whatever problem I'm experiencing. Oh, I'm experiencing this problem. I should probably go talk to this person. They can help me. They've been through this. That's helped me. And I don't know when this became controversial to talk about. You know, I think as a man, talking too much about your problems makes you a head case. It makes them like mentally very weak, anxiety ridden.
Well, it makes you into a woman. It really does.
Vocalizing it, right?
Yes.
Expressing your
Yes.
problems to people who can't offer
Or being emotional, all this stuff.
I agree
It's
with
not
that.
for you. And the sooner you realize that, the better your life is going to be. 100%. And like, and I don't think, and things like that, they've taken them out of media. I miss the whole like Arnold, like strong man being a role model phase. When I grew up, feminism was already on the rise, and women were going to work and paying taxes, and it was looked down upon to be a stay-at-home mom, as it is now, which is the most important job in the world, to not give your kids to the government and raising them by yourself. And there's no such thing as a woman's love to their children, and I can see it with my boys. There's things that I cannot be ever, you know. There is no such. There is a yin and yang, and a child needs a mother, especially when it's a young child.
For
so
sure.
much, so much, and they also need me as a father who is very strict and wants a lot from them. They need to perform. The love is not just given. You know, if they are fuck up, if they take drugs, if they're dishonest, you will be punished, and you should be by your dad. It's not like a mother that will take you back even if you're doing the worst. You know, my mom would accept me even if I'm a criminal. She would always. They always vouch for you. It's like unconditional love.
Right.
But I think from the dad, and we kind of lost that, is like there's nothing more beautiful, like you said, when the family falls apart and there is huge adversity on hand, to have a rock in your family, there is nothing better, where you know this guy doesn't shed a tear. I can always count on him. He's so strong. And even if he's not, he's hiding it. Obviously, men have emotions,
Right.
but he's not showing it to his children or to his wife. That has such a huge power. That is such a powerhouse, to have some strong father figure in your life. That I think that can really, that can be the most important thing, or the most devastating thing in a child's life. 100%.
Like the absence of that, you're saying,
Yeah,
or if that's altered,
Yeah.
or if the father is too unconditional, like a mother, and not setting a example or enforcing a strictness. I definitely agree with that. I would say that my family operates exactly like that. Like my dad was a disciplinarian, and it's funny, yeah, my mom was unconditional and kind of taking me back and being overly loving and whatever. Again, I don't know when these became controversial things,
Yeah.
but I definitely agree that men hold their power. And it's not like you can never cry, but I do think men need to get into action. They need to be engaged with life out of the head, in the senses, as you said, serving, taking away the suffering from others, is empowering. And a man complaining is just debilitating his power. He's preventing himself from really expressing his love, which I think comes in the form of like action and being strong for the family, like you were saying, which should be normal. Again, I don't know when this became like controversial or not a thing.
Yeah.
It's confusing. And again, I come from immigrants, like from both sides of my family. So I don't know if it's like the media. I don't know if it's like we're losing something culturally, but to me, everything you're saying is like intuitive, and I saw it in my fathers and my grandfathers.
No, and everybody knows it. That's why I think there's also such a need for men speaking truth, because nobody buys the bullshit, especially with the new generations. You can see it with the numbers that like Andrew Tate or people that like speak up get, because young men need that, something to look up to, and yeah, it's been really sad how the media trying to weaken the man. Everything that is manly and full of testosterone, like, I don't know, if it's shooting guns or eating red meat or smoking cigars, or everything is bad. And that's been the narrative for a long time now. But it swings back hard. So
it's probably related to this comfort, the comfort kills phenomenon too. Something where when society gets too complacent or comfortable, we start forgetting how hard. We start forgetting that we need resilient people.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
You just forget. Oh, everyone can be emotional.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone can express their feelings. Let's make everything easier than it already is. We forget that, like, no, there's death that you have to overcome in the family. Who's going to be the one, helping the family move forward? Who's going to be the one during financial struggles or whatever struggle? Who's going to be there making sure that people aren't emotionally off balance? Yeah, that's totally on the men. And I think the cold is like a resurgence toward that suffering, toward appreciating that suffering and using suffering to transform ourselves to be better at life, to be better for our families, to be better citizens, more engaged, less in our heads.
How did you get to Blue Cube?
So I'm a co-founder. Thomas is the serial entrepreneur, founder of Blue Cube. I got into biohacking like 2016, 2017. I was blowing up. I was getting my MBA and working full time, so I was eating like crazy. And I was also thinking that I was working out, like lifting heavy weights, but I was just getting inflamed. And my brother saw a Rogan podcast with Rhonda Patrick, and he had just broken up with a girlfriend. She called him fat at the end. So he like totally changed his ways, learned about intermittent fasting or fasting, working out. And for the first time in his life, he had a six-pack and he was in better shape than me. So something went off in my head. My brother and I have a good competitive relationship. Like, we love and support each other. And then when it comes to biohacking and stuff like that, I like to be on par or outdo him, call me a maniac. Saw him with a six-pack, and I was like, crap, I'm doing everything wrong. So I went down the intermittent fasting rabbit hole, micronutrient optimization, sauna, and then I started cold plunging. I met Thomas when I was in another startup. He was supportive of that startup idea. He was even like helping promote my business on his business. He owns several pizza shops, one across the street from SMC here in LA, in Santa Monica. And I met him there. And then we went our separate ways, and he moved to Oregon to be with his kids. And that's when he founded Blue Cube. He wanted his own. He was looking at Morosco, realized that they were building pretty shitty, and was like, okay, I can make a better one. And he kept hounding me, David, come check out this cool bath that I'm making. And at first I was like, Tommy, no one's going to be paying money for this, man. Like, I'm using ice and a horse trough. Like, I'm doing this every day. Like, no one's, this is really expensive. He said, David, come up here, come check it out, come plunge, whatever. So I went to go visit him. And as soon as I experienced that cold, I was like, okay, I'm not getting this from regular ice. This takes away all the hassle of 30 minutes in the morning just prepping and do I have enough ice? It's reliable, predictable, on demand. I can change temps. And that's when I saw the opportunity. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there is something. Oh, there's the commercial side for people who want, back to back. So that's when I joined. And then together we bootstrapped like our first customers, got feedback from the market, got into some commercial centers like Optimize in Phoenix. Shout out to Michael and Jesse. They were I think they were like our fifth customer. And that feedback loop, because they were getting like 100 people per day, 100 people plunging like maniacs, dolphining into the blue cubes. And that gave us the feedback loop that we needed to really understand, like, okay, what can our system tolerate? How can we make it better? So yeah, I guess my obsessiveness with the biohacking kind of led me to the place where I could come into a company like Blue Cube. Thomas is the artist and the product guy. Okay. Tommy grew up in New York. He worked at his uncle's cabinet manufacturing plant, the largest in Long Island, New York at the time. So Tommy, from a young age, was making beautiful furniture. He was a serial entrepreneur. He owned beautiful homes. He likes himself buying like beautiful, durable appliances, like a Viking stove, or a beautiful piece of furniture that's going to last forever and was made with love. So Tommy had that sense of like the high-end market or using premium components. And he's amazing in that aspect with the taste. I really care about the consumer, like how they're incorporating it in their life, what it feels like in the different baths, when to do the cold plunge, how does cold plunge relate to the other habits. So I really understood how people were incorporating it into their lives. And I became obsessed with like the user. And then Tommy came from like a product entrepreneur background. That's kind of how long-winded explanation, but yeah, that's what caused Blue Cube to.
And who came up with the river mode?
So that was both Tommy and I. I went with his name is Isaiah. He's a Spartan racer. We went to Optimize and other customers of ours that had our competitors too, side by side. Yeah. So we were going into the different plunges, Blue Cube, Cold Tub, Morosco. And he was giving me feedback. He's like one of those guys who doesn't bullshit, says exactly what's on his mind, which I appreciate. And at the time, Andrew Huberman was talking about needing to do micro movements in the in the ice bath. So I was listening to that and then realized that we were good, but we weren't like significantly better. What feature is going to really matter? So that's when we landed on, flow rate. This is flow rate and temperature are how you control the cold dose. So having a flow rate that you can control gives you like a wind chill factor in the Blue Cube. So it's another, it's like having the full weight rack in the gym, like having all the different weights and and a barbell or a dumbbell. It's the same thing with cold. It's adding another dimension of challenge. It's like another angle of movement in a workout. I see that as like another angle of adaptation in cold. So that's how it was birthed through listening to the podcasters and then exploring in the field and getting feedback from other people telling us, hey, I like this about yours. I like this about the other company. And then just it clicked in our head like, oh, okay, yeah. Flow rate, we got to add that. That's going to be a big feature. That's kind of how it came about, like a brainstorm experience session or whatever.
Yeah, man, I haven't touched the flow rate too much because it is so intense.
You should definitely do it. I know you're getting used to the 37 because you're a beast. The river mode or adding that, I think will help you achieve that. Yeah. that adaptation that you're looking for.
And is there any way to get it colder? Have you guys thought about like actual ice?
That's
Just
for the hardcore guys like you, yeah.
Visually, even when I start buying the ice, it's just, even if it, bro, I used to measure it and the bottom would just be so different than the top where the ice lays.
The temperature of the water you're talking about, yeah.
There's such a difference that it looks badass, but it's not even that cold. Like it never was 37.
Sure.
It might be like 45 or in the 50s. And then the top layer is like obviously like 30 something, but it would really differentiate in my top that I used to have before the blue cube.
Yeah.
But it visually, when I edit my gym videos and there's ice on top, it just gives the viewer that
the badass
idea
factor
of how cold it looks. It just looks cold.
For
right?
sure.
Yeah.
We'll come up with a new product solution for you, Andy.
Yeah, there's just something about the visually, at least, because I know how cold it is and how it feels.
Right.
I mean, it's so freaking cold. But visually, there's something about, I mean, even with working out, there's some things that just look good. Even if they don't do anything, but they look badass. You know, I might put it in like a workout little TikTok.
Sure.
Because it just looks crazy, you know.
Like having a bigger weight, or like doing a barbell, dumbbell, or
Yeah, like something where your muscles like contract like crazy.
yeah.
Like I think there's this one scene just like push pressing, not even a lot of weight, but because the lighting was perfect and I stand in the right spot, it's very useful. And same with the cold plunge. Sometimes it doesn't look intense enough. It doesn't look how intense it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
That's
sense.
like a visual thing where I wish it would just like, man, when there is ice, actual ice.
Yeah, it looks colder.
It looks so cold.
I hear
so
you.
Fucking cold.
Well, regardless, the Blue Cube team will work on a candy can crazy blizzard mode.
It's something to think about. Even, or like the idea, yeah, that there is ice swimming around. Yeah.
Just because of the visuals, even if it doesn't add to the temperature.
No,
the visuals. You know, I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so you were prepping out here with ice and a bin. That was your routine.
Back in Woodland Hills.
No way, you lived in Woodland Hills for a little bit? Okay.
Yeah. I used to live in Woodland Hills, and I would have Amazon Prime deliver. They used to deliver ice.
Like in the morning
I
or
would
whatever?
get every morning like 20
Yeah.
bags, and I would try. Then I bought a freezer. I had it in the freezer. I would rip up plastic bags and try to make it cold every day. In LA, that's really expensive because it really just doesn't get cold.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because in Austria, like my brother, he can just put the tub outside in the winter and it will have a thin ice layer and he breaks it. And even that is just so badass. And then he gets in. Yeah.
It's very primal.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Is most of your family still in
All of them. Yeah.
Do you miss them dearly? Do they come and...
They come visit, but it's just too much distance. And it's so hard to keep contact with somebody so far. So
for sure.
But I always wanted to be American, and I love America. So I had to get my family here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is your brother a maniac like you with the exercise, or
No.
totally different personality?
Yeah.
That's cool.
No.
Is he like a nerd or an engineer, or?
He's very
Okay.
very naturey. But yeah, I wish he would be more working out and being more of a man. But also he's 10 years younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
22? 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 22.
Speaking of that,
But he likes cold plunging.
That's
very
good.
interesting. Even though he's not obsessed with CrossFit or exercise or any of that,
yeah.
you can get somebody easily hooked. Once you do that entry, once he just cold plunged here a little bit, they kept doing it once he got back to Austria.
He's obsessed now with the habit. Good for him.
And I even have that days where I don't work out or I can't. but I still gotta get the cold plunge. And I remember even in Airbnbs, I still have at least a cold shower every morning because you get into that lifestyle. It's really a lifestyle.
I agree.
Yeah.
It becomes like a necessary ritual to express yourself at your best. Do you absolutely need it? Maybe not. But the day is like so much better when you do it. Even on vacations, to your point. Like
I mean, even Dana White, I think he
Yeah.
did it like on a yacht. He had somebody fly in a cold plunge and putting on the yacht.
That's so funny.
Because no, you get to a point where you need it to feel the same, to feel yourself.
For sure.
Yeah, because you get so used to that person now that feels like that. You feel like a god. So when you don't do it, you feel moderate and weak.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't feel the same.
And the workout doesn't even have that all the time. It just doesn't do it how the cold plunge. The cold plunge always delivers. It's very different.
Right.
People don't understand that. Like, you can have good, like I said, good workout, bad workout. The cold plunge is always good. It's never been, even if I've been sick or it always hits you. There is just no way it doesn't hit you. And the cryo doesn't hit you. The cold plunge always hits you.
Right.
Yeah, it is so intense.
And reliable.
So reliable.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, non-negotiable and same shit every time, and it sucks always. Yeah, even if you think you got it, it will still take your breath away. And I feel like the closer for me, the closer you get to the 33, to that ice point, the more it hits you.
That initial shock.
Yeah.
Because your body's measuring that temperature difference, right?
Yeah, the 50s really don't do it for me. When I heard Huberman saying that he goes into the 50,
Yeah.
that doesn't do nothing. Like,
Wasn't Joe Rogan
Yeah.
making fun of
Oh,
him?
yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
no, man. Like, put it down to the 30s
Yeah.
now and get in there.
yeah,
I agree, although I do think there's benefits to the 50s. Arnold was talking about this, how you can do like longer soaks in the 50s. You can do like 10, 20 minutes.
I know, but it's like you can say the same about sprinting and marathon, I guess, but there's nothing like full intensity for very short.
Right.
I believe in that
Yeah.
for 100%. There's no need to go in there 20 minutes.
Right.
I would rather do 1 minute at like 33 than 20 minutes at 50.
And there needs to be more, because I think you're right. It's the same thing with exercise, right? Like high intensity
Yeah.
and shorter duration
It's so much-
stimulates your muscle more.
Yeah, much
than-
more stimulation. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cop out. It's an excuse. Yeah. Oh, you can do 20 minutes and 50? Nobody cares. It's like saying I can lift 135 for 500 times. No, it's that one person that can lift like 500 pounds one time.
That makes sense. I even think the same way with the sauna. Like I think
For sure.
I'd rather be in 230
Yeah.
for 10 minutes than be in like 150, 160 for an hour.
Yeah.
You just don't get that same panic attack
Yeah.
and that flush. No, for sure. You're probably right on that. To be continued.
I just noticed from sprinters, and I look at a sprinter and I look at a marathon runner. I don't want to
Yeah.
be the marathon runner. You look like fucking shit. You look like, no, that ain't it. That's just not it. Look at a marathon runner. Looks like a horse. Those fucking legs, it's beautiful. So fucking crazy, right?
Are you talking about the sprinters?
Yeah. Sprinters look like horses.
Like horses,
Marathon
right,
runners
right.
look like they're starving.
Right. Malnourished,
Yeah.
typically.
They look like they're dying.
Like they need help.
Yeah.
Can I help you, man? You need some food? Yeah.
It's impressive, but I can't, man. No, I like the power. Yeah,
What you're saying is perfectly in line with, I don't know if you've seen that graph of the hormetic stress and like the growth you get and diminishing returns. It's all about acute low dose, very intense, short duration. That seems to be a common thread among like exercise, fasting even. It's not about overdoing it. It's not about being able to do it for a long amount of time. It's about the intensity and compacting that stress. I think you're onto something. I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if the evidence shows that lower temps, shorter duration is better than the longer.
Well, with muscles, it's 100% like that. The higher rep doesn't. It's different muscle fiber than the less reps and very heavy. Your body gets forced to adapt in a different way and becomes big and powerful.
Yeah.
If you have 5-pound dumbbells at home, nothing will ever happen. But if you have 100-pound dumbbells,
is that what you use? You use the 100-pound?
Of course, I can. Yeah, if you can snatch like 100-pound dumbbell, something will happen for sure. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's like a threshold needs to be met.
Yeah,
and if you're underweighted or under stressing, you're never gonna. No matter how many reps you do, you're not gonna hit that stress adaptation.
Yeah, your body instantly. I think when your body emerges in that cold water, it instantly knows I need to adapt. This is too much.
Right.
Yeah, and that goes again to those fucking losers that post that cold plunging is bad for you. You know, and you can look at them what they look like.
They're all obese. They're all like ugly.
Yeah, or just not very. They don't look very resilient or strong or flawless. That I'm like, I want to be like you. Most of the time when I go through life, I always try to take advice from people that you want to be like. It's a very easy way of living. Like when you look at the person and see how they're doing, and if you like something about them, just adapt it to your life. Because as we know, everybody has different needs and different things work for different people. But I like to surround myself with strong people and people that like got it figured out, kind of. And the people that complain about cold plunges, they don't look like that.
Right.
They got it figured out. Yeah.
100%. I like what you said. Like navigating life is it becomes easier when you have role models or people being selective on who you listen to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of related to like with men, be selective on who you talk to problems about. Can the person actually help you with the problem? And then to your point, like, are you listening to someone that you want to become like? Or that has habits that you want to also incorporate because you know that they're good for you. It's all connected with like empowering yourself with the right information and the right resources.
If you like biohacking, have you tried carnivore?
I am a mix between, do you know Paul Saladino?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a mix between Paul Saladino, Rhonda Patrick, and Brian Johnson. Do you know Brian Johnson, the Don't Die guy? The guy who sells olive oil and anyway, I'm like a mix. I'm a carnivore. I'm an omnivore.
Yeah.
I eat fruits, meats, some veggies, raw milk, raw honey.
Yeah.
Just whole foods. I don't want anything artificial anymore. I want to know every ingredient, and I want the food to be like of the best quality. I don't know what the hell that makes me.
For sure.
How about you? Are you pure carnivore? Are you omnivore?
I guess like not pure, but trying to be as carnivore as possible.
Sure.
Yeah. I kind of like stopped eating vegetables and fruit.
Even fruits, no fruits.
It doesn't really do it for me anymore. Yeah. Ever since I found out that they spray everything and you can't really wash it, it really ruined it for me. Maybe if I'm in Europe, I'll eat some fruit.
Yeah.
It's not like I would like die if I eat it, but I just try to get most of my calories from eggs and red meat. Yeah.
Eggs are amazing.
No chicken.
Yeah. You're done with the chicken.
I hate chicken.
Even pasture raised?
I love eggs, but
Yeah.
I don't eat the meat of the chicken because they have stupid stomachs and they eat shit.
Yeah, they do eat some weird stuff.
Yeah. I try to eat I like venison, elk, and beef. That's mostly what I try to eat. as much wild animal as possible. They sell like ground elk and ground venison at Whole Foods. Yeah, I love that.
Elk is delicious for sure.
Elk is amazing, and then eggs and then raw cheese and raw honey, raw milk,
Yeah.
and that's about it. Just as much as possible. That there's nothing like raw milk with steak and eggs.
I agree.
My go-to.
100%. Something about raw milk is so satisfying.
Yeah.
And then the meat, having more meat is so satiating. You don't get hungry
Yeah,
when you eat meat, you know? And I feel like a lot of people overeat just because they're not getting nutrition.
Yeah.
And the meat is like a multivitamin.
yeah. It is so nutritious, and the raw milk too. The raw milk is so freaking hydrating.
Right.
It's weird. It's like it's so weird. It's crazy once you start drinking it, and it also makes you like hate everything artificial. It
Right.
makes it like disgusting.
100%.
It repulses you. Yeah.
It has
But before
everything.
you crave it, and then you kind of like despise it. It's very powerful.
I agree.
That's like my biggest biohacking, probably. Yeah.
The raw milk?
The nutrition, the hot cold, the exercise, sleep, water. That's probably my go-to.
Yeah.
And then going out, spending a lot of time outside. Yeah, get it, and the screens. I hate the screens. I hate them so much. Yeah, they're just really destroying our society. And they're the most, like what you said about complaining men, social media is a little bit that. A lot of complaining for everyone. A lot of like me, and my problems. So, yeah, the screens are killing us, for sure.
Yeah, they're robbing us of
That's why I even
mental
have the
bandwidth.
sand clock when I do the cold plunge. I hate the screens. I don't want to look at it. I want to have it not close to me. I don't want to look at the screen
Yeah.
even in the cold plunge. So I bought these sand clocks that I can turn over, so I'm not reliable on the screen.
more analog.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's
Because you have it always on the toilet, in the cold plunge, in the sauna, in the car. It's fucking following you around, this thing. And as much as you need it, I would recommend it to everybody to deliberately like leave it at home when you go on a hike. Every day I see at Running Canyon, these idiots, everybody is like with their neck down hiking.
yeah.
And yeah, and especially with your partner, your wife, try to like have some sort of hour in the day where you're not with a phone, both of you, just together. Even the podcast, it's so sick to talk to somebody with no phone. You
Yeah,
know,
it
it's
is.
so sick. You never get to do that. There's always this stupid thing around that makes you unpresent and changes your whole brain chemistry and makes you into a cattle.
And makes people like neurotic, because you're always looking for the ping.
Yeah.
You're always looking for that text or that email.
Yeah, and when somebody picks it up in front of you, everybody has to now get it. Like there's nothing weirder. It's like same as going out when you go to the club.
Yeah.
I always sit on a table, and you can see how this motion of somebody taking out their phone, and everybody follows,
takes
and
it out.
everybody takes it out because you don't want to be that one person. And when you're that one person that's not on their phone, and you can see it around you, the cattle. It's so absurd and bizarre, disgusting. It's so sad. It's so, and nobody has to check anything. Nobody's making any money. Nothing important is ever happening.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything. You're literally wasting everybody's life away, and it's become the number one thing. Yeah. I think when people like freak out about EMF and microplastics and everybody's still posting all of this shit on the phone, it's sickening, really. Just when people worry about their testosterone, and just get away from your phone and life will open up. It's crazy. Every time I'm with my children and I'm with my phone, you always feel like you got to check or do an email or do something, and you don't do anything right. You're not playing with your children correctly, and you're also not really working correctly, and you're also not socializing at all. You think you're connected to somebody, but you're actually not. You're actually like this idiot that like is with a crooked neck somewhere in this world. you know. And that's why it's so sad, because you see people traveling, people being successful, lifting heavy weights. You scroll through like success, money, success, hot people, Photoshop people, big muscles, big yacht, big car, and you're just that idiot with the crooked neck in that moment, right? Me too. I do it all the time. But when I put it away, suddenly I interact with my children or my wife, my surroundings. I see the beauty of the tree and the sun, and I can smell the air, and I'm present. And that's the most beautiful thing sometimes. That's all you need sometimes, a lot of times, most of the times, you know? And people should worry less about all the estrogens and all the EMF shit, and just spend some quality time with no phone. By yourself or with your family, with your friends or by yourself. But like even hiking with no phone, it's so beautiful. Anything you do without your phone. The phone is the biggest killer, for sure, by far. More
For
more
like
than the polyester.
yeah.
Yes, not even for happiness,
Energy.
just for being human. That makes you the most unhuman, and it really it sucks your soul out of you. Not even your happiness, because life is also beautiful when it's sad. There's beauty about sadness, and there's beauty about pain. Like the cold plunge, there's so much beauty about all the shit that happens to you. Every adversity gives you a chance to grow stronger and to overcome. So there is much beauty in sadness and horrible, horrific things that happen to you. Always give God or the universe gives you a chance that you can become something out of that. But not when you're not present. You will always make a bad choice, and you will never see the truth. So the phone is your biggest enemy at this point. It used to be your own mind, and now it's really your phone.
Fascinating, man.
I hate nothing more. My goal would be that I have to wake up and I would not have to check my phone. And it's not the first thing on my mind. It's not what I need to call my wife or connect to my children, like, or call to Austria to keep up with my parents. I would want it to not be needed, you know?
It's. I think the cold can help people reset and reframe, especially the dopamine, but just reset their lives and their habits, because it's a habit. It's becoming like a compulsion. It's becoming like a artificial limb that took over, and it's like now controlling us, like Spider-Man 2, you know, those arms, and they end up controlling the guy. It's like the phone is controlling us. It's like an extension of us that now is leeching us. And the cold can help us like reframe. I know for me, it can help you just like cut off that alarm and the need to always be looking.
No, and when was the last time you shat without your phone?
I love reading and doing my number two. It's like no, you're right. Or I like to bring a book. To your point, sometimes I do go analog, but usually I'm scrolling on my phone. I like to read Kindle books. But you're right. I go into stupid.
Or look at anything you love in your life.
Yeah,
doesn't involve a phone. Probably having sex with my wife, being in the sauna, being in the cold plunge, exercising like crazy. It's only these moments where I cannot be on my phone that truly become magical. There's never a happy moment with the phone. It always, it's very unsatisfying. And the moment you realize that the true life begins when you put the phone down, that is the moment. A man has two lives.
Yeah.
The second one starts when he realizes he only has one. Have you heard that quote?
And he puts the phone down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your life will start when you put your phone down. It is the biggest enemy, for sure.
Was that Carl Jung or Nietzsche, or I forgot who said what the quote that you said. I know what you're talking about.
But
though.
I feel like it's because we always want to blame somebody else, but I feel like your life really starts, and the best moments is with no phone. Yeah.
How sad then. So we are truly addicts, where we're engaged in something that's not going to make us feel joyful and grateful for life, but we can't help ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we know what we need to be doing: get outside, get off the phone, but like we're so helplessly addicted.
No, and we think we're like crazy biohackers, but you spend most of the time on your phone,
Right.
you know? Or like I know people that are like they got it figured out, but they're still on their phone all the time. And I feel like there's beauty to really controlling it, not having a phone. I don't think that's the answer. The answer is not to or never drinking alcohol again. Or I think there's control over desire and addiction.
Right.
Yeah. But I think the addiction need to be addressed, and you need to be very aware of the addiction. That's why when you work in social media and you know you use it for your job, you become much hyper aware of the danger of it. I feel like more than maybe a normal consumer, where I know I need time away from it every day. Yeah.
That you seem like somebody who's very in touch with your state or how things are affecting your energy, your attention, your focus. And I think building that insight is the challenge for a lot of people. Until someone builds that insight, it's hard to start realizing like what habits you need to add or what you need to subtract from your life and how that's affecting, your energy over time. I think a lot of people don't like sitting with themselves in silence. It's too uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's why they have to immediately start scrolling or consuming something so that they feel like they're part of something or they don't have to deal with their problems. They don't have to deal with that voice in your head. And maybe confronting that voice or confronting that silence is part of the answer. Just being okay with not doing anything. It's so hard. I also think it's hard for obsessive people too to have moderation with some of these tools or substances. Like the same thing that can help you propel to work out every day is the same thing that can get you sucked into a phone or becomes like a habit of weekly drinking, or then you start increasing the alcohol take. So it's like a challenge between obsessing about the good and somehow having more control or letting go of the things that are damaging us. It's tough, man. It's a challenge. I see it within myself because I have an obsessive personality.
Yeah.
So I use that as fuel for what I want, but I know that it can equally backfire. And such as the animal. I mean, do you find, like my dad, I've never seen someone like this. My dad is the kind of guy, he can have his humidor, all of his nice cigars. He can have one cigar once a month, once a week. And he'll never go in the middle of the week and do it. He'll never do it like in an off time. It'll always be like Saturday or Sunday when he has that time in the afternoon where he can really enjoy it. And then he can drop it. Most other people, they'll start, let me do a cigar on the weekend. And then they find themselves, sooner or later every day picking it up because they like the buzz. I think some people have that obsessiveness or that trait that they need to be aware of and control it more. And I do think like a cold plunge or ice bath or cold shower, these are tools to build insight and to help like break free from those cycles and bad habits. At least it's helped me with my, demons, so to speak.
Tell everybody how they can get their Blue Cube.
Call us anytime. Literally, Thomas and I pick up the phones at random weird times. Visit our website, bluecubebaths.com. You can reach us out on Instagram at bluecubebaths. We'd love to talk to you about their entire product line. We like to FaceTime our customers too. And we can even recommend if Blue Cube is not a solution for you, there are other modalities and other ways for people to get, involved in cold exposure which we definitely are supportive of. If you want something that's like pinnacle cold every day, really well built with love, and you value simply like having the best, then definitely Blue Cube, because there is no second best.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Candy.